Good morning, Konkon and Varshapal. I am on roof. You can see. Uh, I think there is a kind of chromatic aberration just above the head because the light is coming from behind. Just let me adjust. If you is it okay? Yeah, to some extent, I think. Well, good morning. How do you feel? How do you feel getting up in the morning? The atmosphere is so calm, so serene. Do you like it? Getting up in the morning and uh, having the class. And by the way, today is the 2nd October, the Gandhi Jayanti. So let us remember that great man at the same time and pay some respect to him who did such great things for not only for our country but for the whole world itself. Feeling like bird who sees the first sunlight. Oh, great. Let's have some other people arrive and then we can begin the text which we were reading, which was, I think, the man who planted trees, isn't it? The man who planted trees. I think we did this, but will any one of you tell me how much did we do? The first unit or the second unit? Did we do the first unit and or we do the second unit as well? Uh, I'm asking you again. Will you please tell me how much did we do of? Sorry, I don't think we were doing the man who planted trees. I think we were doing. I'm sorry. We were doing the tales of childhood, didn't we? I'm sorry. I'm so confused. Which text were we doing? The man who planted trees or the tales of childhood? Which one? Okay. The first unit only introduced করেছিলেন the man who planted trees. Okay. So we will begin. You are saying. Okay. I think we did something. At least I think Worshipal told me that the first para. So we can begin from the very beginning itself. Okay. I think you can hear that dove chirping. It's beautiful in the morning. We have only 8 people. Usually, when I do it in the evening, there are almost 20 to 22 people. Um, do you think they'll arrive, or shall I wait for a bit more time? It's 9 after 8, 10. Okay, it's increasing. Okay. Devajyoti, okay. Okay. Well, so let us begin the text. About 40 years ago, I went on a long hike through hills absolutely unknown to the tourists in that very old region where Alps penetrate into Provence. It consisted of barren and monotonous lands. Nothing grew there except wild lavender. So our author Jean Guiano, he is recounting his life's experience. Recounting is remembering uh, an experience which had occurred a very long days ago, which was about 40 years ago, not a matter of joke, 40 years ago, and still he graphically remembers it, because it was so vibrant, an incident in his life. That's it. কারণ আদারওয়াইজ আমরা 40 বছর আগেকার ইনসিডেন্ট এত গ্রাফিক্যালি মনে রাখি না, until and unless something that truly impresses our mind. Okay. So about 40 years ago, I went on a long hike through hills absolutely unknown to tourists in that very region where Alps penetrate into Provence. Penetrate means ঢুকে আসা একদম। Provence বলে একটা জায়গা আছে। I I think I was telling you last day, Provence, that beautiful province of France where you have that wild lavender fields, and I think uh, I didn't show you because there is no option of sharing the screen until and unless I do it via Zoom or StreamYard, where I have the option of screen sharing, that also in the paid mode anyway. So where Alps penetrate into Provence, it consisted of barren and monotonous lands. We did a time by saying what was monotonous land. It's a transferred epithet, that land is monotonous because the land was without variety. Nothing grew there except wild lavender. I was crossing this country at its widest part, and after walking for 3 days, I found myself I found myself in the most complete desolation. I was camped next to an abandoned village. I had used the last of my water, and the day before, I needed to find more. These ruined houses of village made me think that there must at one time have been a spring or a well there. There was indeed a spring, but it was dry. All life had disappeared. So that's how you have a hike, or that's how you are completely to your own self. And in those days you didn't have uh, things like instantly purifying water or things like that. Good morning, Onik. uh, so he found himself in complete desolation. Desolation means complete loneliness. He was in a place what we can call a god forsaken place. Let me type that word for you. I think I told you, god forsaken. The word is god forsaken, which means a place which is totally desolate and deserted and lonely, like that. বাংলায় বলে পাণ্ডব বর্জিত, গড ফর সেকেন্ড, যেখানে যে জায়গা ভগবানরাও বর্জন করেছেন সেরকম একটা জায়গা। সো সেই জায়গাতে গিয়ে তিনি পড়েছিলেন যে দেয়ার ওয়াজ ইনডিড আ স্প্রিং, একটা ছোট একটা প্রস্রবণ টাইপের ছিল, বাট ইট ওয়াজ ড্রাই, all life had disappeared, and of course a place where you do not have a steady source of water, you do not have the residents or the inhabitants in there, because that is the primary source of life. Otherwise you would have life in desert as well. Well, it was a beautiful June day with plenty of sun. Plenty of sun means প্রচুর রোদ্দুর। Sun এখানে it's not the sun, but the it is রোদ্দুর, the sun rays. But on these shelterless lands high up in the sky, the winds whistled continually. Excuse me. Its sound was like that of a wild beast disturbed during its meal. Uh, I don't know whether you have heard the sound or not. Where you, when you are placed in a very widely open region and the wind blows here, it makes a very curious noise. It makes a noise like a beast is howling or thing like that. Okay, it sound like that a wild beast disturbed during its meal. I had to move my camp after 5 years of walking. I still hadn't found water, and nothing gave me hope of finding any. He was camping. He did have his tents or things with him. His camping ammunitions. So I had to move my camp after 5 years of walk. 5 hours of walking. 5 ঘন্টা ধরে তিনি হাঁটলেন. I still hadn't found water, and nothing gave me hope of finding any. এবং পাবো এরকমও কোনো আশা দেখছিলাম না। Well, moving on to this unit 2, let us see. Everywhere there was the same dryness, that same stiff woody plant. You only had some shrubs or some things like that. I thought I saw in the distance the shadow of a figure. Now that is quite unlikely. You have the land completely to yourself. It is totally god forsaken. But at that time, there you have suddenly a figure, a human figure. Uh, it will be like an amazement. You will not believe yourself that how can a figure come. But let me tell you, it is not that much, what should I say, uncommon in the European countries, because number one, you do not have uh, a great deal of population like our country. In those countries, people there live very scattered way, and they also do some kind of adventurous things, like you can meet some other hikers on the trail. But here he is not a hiker, he is a local man. And people have weird habits, like they stay there in a completely lonely deserted region to their own self. People, you can say, they are more romantic, you will find in there. um, তো সেরকম জায়গায় হঠাৎ করে তার মনে হলো যে না, একটা মানুষের ফিগার দেখতে পাচ্ছেন তিনি ছোট করে। on a chance I headed towards it, এবং তিনি কি মনে হলো তার দিকে এগোতে থাকলেন। It was a shepherd. 30 lambs or so were resting near him on the scorching ground. প্রায় 30টা মতো ভেড়া নিয়ে তিনি ওখানে ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছেন সেই স্কর্চিং গ্রাউন্ডের মধ্যে। It was so searing the heat of the sun. Good morning, Indrayut. Good to have you all in here in this beautiful morning. And I think there are some clouds, black clouds are accumulating in the sky. It was clear enough, the sky, but clouds are accumulating. Well, he gave me a drink, and a little later, he led me to his shepherd's cottage. So he did have a cottage with him, and he invited him there. It had been agreed immediately that I would pass the night there. Though he had his camping, uh, why, Onik? It's not good for your health. You slept for 2 hours. Um, I don't think you should do late nights. Well, I also did not sleep much, but uh, okay, who won? Barcelona had the match with whom? Hmm, okay, okay, okay. Let's come back to the story from Barcelona and Celta Vigo. Um, it had been agreed immediately that I'd pass the night there, the closest village being still more a day and a half further on. The village that you have there is still quite a few miles there, and so having no other option in hand at hand, it was agreed that the author or the who was the hiker in the case was that he would pass the night there because he had the accompaniment of a fellow human being, and that's what you want in your life, the accompaniment of the other human being, because you cannot have the bread alone. Human man is a social animal, and he just can't live without completely devoid of the sight of the other fellow human beings. So he gave me a drink and a little water. He led me to his shepherd's cottage. He shared his. I'm completely yawning. Maybe there is a feel of oxygen in me. Uh, the closest village being still more than a day and a half further on. There are 4 or 5 villages dispersed one from another on the flanks of the hills in this area. They are inhabited by woodcutters who make charcoal. So you see the life in there. People living living in a distant region. People living in uh, thin communities or living alone like this shepherd. So they are dispersed, they are scattered, and they live a very lonely, humdrum, and a very tough life over there in the mountain. Shepherd took out a bag and poured a pile of acorns out on the table. Acorns are the seeds of oaks. He began to examine them one after the other with a great deal of attention, separating the good ones from the bad. When he had before him 100 perfect acorns, he stopped, and we went to bed. The company of this man brought me a feeling of peace. He gave me the impression that nothing could disturb him. I was intrigued, and I wanted to find more about this man. Now, this is something I don't know if you have come across such a man in your life or not, but there are persons like him. There are persons like who will give you a feeling that there is nothing very much wrong in life, and there are persons who ooze out confidence, who oozes out what should I say, radiance, truthfulness, peacefulness, everything about them. like uh, you can think about monks, not every monk, but some special monks like Swami Vivekananda. I haven't met him, nor nobody else in our time, but you have heard about him. He had a kind of radiance uh, surrounding him. In the same way, it does not have to be a very famous person. A person with confidence, a person with composure, he can be sitting very next to you, anybody. uh, when you talk to that person, or when you see that person doing things in his own life or in her own life, you have a feeling that things are so beautiful, things are so normal. Okay, in this reference, I don't know I have given this example or not. uh, I would like to make mention, and I do make mention whenever I teach this text. uh, a person whom I think you have heard of. His name is a very great Pakistani player. His name was Injamamul Haq. Have you heard the name Injamamul Haq? A very, very, or perhaps the greatest batsman that Pakistan ever had. Have you heard the name Injamamul Haq? Yeah. Uh, and I think you know him as well. He's a tall person with a beard right now. Now, you see, in Jamamul Haq was a player of Sachin's time. Sachin, Inzamamul Haq, and Graham Smith. There was a person called a batsman called Graham Smith. He was of England. These three players, they arrived at the same time, and of course with Binod Kamli as well. They made their debuts in cricket, and of course, you see, nobody could live up to the expectation except within our Sachin Tendulkar. But in Jamamul Haq, he was somehow he was peace personified. If you uh, we saw I mean the matches of match played by Inzi, he was loudly called. So when he used to play, he was very composed. Of course, he was the person who had, I think, the world record of getting run out for the most time in his career. He was a very lazy runner between the wickets, uh, but he has a wonderful bat, and he had a wonderful personality. It was very peaceful, very devout, very pious, and he was such a gentleman. He was such a gentleman on field and off the field as well. He was a very pious person, and nobody could ever sledge him, and neither can you even think of sledging him. He was such a divine presence on the field. He never used to speak badly with any person. Okay. uh, and when he used to batting seemed so easy. He batted with his signature composure. He did not hurry. And I remember one of the commentators say, when he was batting and I was seeing that match live, he said that when Inzi bats, it seems that he has so much time for playing a ball. He has so much time for playing a ball because he makes it look so easy. Perhaps, of course, he was not he was not perhaps a very phenomenal batsman like Sachin Tendulkar or like Virat Kohli. Now you have, or batsmen like Matthew Hayden or something like that. But he himself. He had his own signature style, and he had a great run in his career. He was one of the most promising and not one of the most famous batsmen, not only of Pakistan but of the whole world cricket as well. But I'm more into the persona, not in Zamamul Haq as a cricketer, but as a personality. He was peace personified. When you meet that person, you you somehow feel that there is nothing very much wrong with life. Okay, he never in his lifetime was lingered into some kind of feuds or quarrel with any fellow players on the field. Okay, and one other person I can remember in the tennis world is Roger Federer. Again, he is peace personified, but Roger Federer ব্যাপারটা যেটা হচ্ছে যে রজার ফেডারার হি ইজ সো রয়্যাল, হি ইজ সো রিগাল ইন হিজ অ্যাটিটিউড, সেই জন্য সেই ব্যাপারটা ঠিক আসে না। মানে যেখানে যার কথা বলা উচিত, ইনি অনেকটা সাধারণ মানুষ। রজার ফেডারার অফ কোর্স ইজ আউট অফ দ্য realm of the common people. He is somehow very distinguished. ওকে, সো এবং এরকম মানুষ আমি জীবনেও দেখেছি বেশ কিছু। when I used to stay in my hostel in Ramakrishna Mission, then there was a মহারাজ, একজন মহারাজ ছিলেন যার নাম ছিল শ্রীশ মহারাজ, এবং he was a very young and tall and very good looking Maharaj with his head shaved off completely as the Maharajas do. And at that particular time he was very famous for his computer skills. His theory, he has a theory in computer which used to be taught as the Strish theory right there in America. He used to have some chats and meetings with Bill Gates at that time, but he was so gentleman, he was so unostentatious in his life, কোনো রকম আড়ম্বর ছিল না। and actually he used out radiance, তার চারিদিক থেকে যেন একটা মানে ছটা বেরোতো। but he was such a common person. He used to play volleyball with us, and the moment he used to be within us, we were somehow jubilated. Okay, so you see, that type of person, they can change your life just with their presence, nothing else, আর কিচ্ছু দরকার হয় না। So he gave me the impression that nothing could disturb him. I was intrigued. Intrigued means here somehow confused. I was intrigued, and I wanted to find more about this man. Okay, now we shall move into the unit 3, but we will not complete it today. We will do a bit from unit 3 because well, before going out the next day, he soaked in a bucket of in a bucket of water the acorns that he had so carefully chosen and counted. Now you can call it to the mind in reference that example which I gave you on the very first day of the Manji the mountain man. You can draw an analogy. He used to plant the trees. Now planting trees is of course easier than scaling a mountain down, but of course you can compare and contrast between the task in terms of their colossal nature. হতে পারে দুটোই মানে গাছ লাগানো অনেক সহজ ব্যাপার, but when it comes to basically making a forest, জিনিসটা সহজ না কঠিন সেটা ম্যাটার করে না। what matters all is your perseverance, is your industriousness, the diligence with which you stick to your work. Okay. So having arrived at the place he had been heading for, he began to pound his iron rod into the ground. মানে ওই দুর্মুষ টাইপের একটা বা একটা লোহার লাঠি ছিল, সেটা দিয়ে মাটির উপর মারতে লাগলো। He made a hole in which he placed an acorn. তিনি একটা করে ছোট ছোট করে ফুটো করতে লাগলেন মাটিতে, এবং তার মধ্যে একটা করে বীজ পুঁততে লাগলেন। ইউ সি, মানে তুমি বলতে পারো যে জীবনে প্রচুর টাইম, সেই জন্য এত কিছু করতে পারে। মানে আমরা সাধারণ এই সমস্ত জিনিস করার জন্য এতটা মানে ধরতক্তা মার পেরেক করে দিই, আমরা ফটাফট করে দিই। বাট ইউ সি, হি ইজ ভেরি চুজি, হি ইজ ভেরি কেয়ারফুল ইন ইচ থিং। ওকে, লাইক তিনি প্রত্যেকটা সিডের ব্যাপারে এতটা এতটাই কেয়ারফুল, that again calls to my mind of another movie. I don't know whether you have heard the name or not. It is called Schindler's List. Have you heard the name? Schindler's List. It's a very famous movie by Steven Spielberg. Schindler's List. নাম শুনেছো? I have started to write a short story, though I need at least 2 weeks more for completing that. Can I post that in the FB group for finishing? Of course, Devojyoti. নামটা আরেকবার বলবেন? হ্যাঁ, নামটা হচ্ছে the Schindler's List. The Schindler's List. I think you can probably have not heard the name. আচ্ছা, তার আগে আমি দেবজ্যোতিকে বলে দিই, অফকোর্স ইউ ক্যান পোস্ট। অ্যান্ড দেবজ্যোতি, যে কথাটা তুমি বললে সেটার থেকে আমার আর একটা জিনিস মাথায় এলো, মাথায় ছিল বেসিক্যালি করার, বাট ভুলে গেছিলাম, যে উই ক্যান ডু ওয়ান মোর থিং। আর একটা জিনিস আমি করার কথা ভাবছিলাম, দ্যাট মেবি ইন ইউটিউব অর ফেসবুক, ওয়ার এভার ইট ইজ, যে ইউ ক্যান অ্যাটলিস্ট একদিন হোক বা দুদিন হোক, অ্যাটলিস্ট আমি উই ক্যান হ্যাভ সাম লাইভ চ্যাট। আমরা একটা লাইভ চ্যাট করতে পারি, একটা লাইভ চ্যাট সেশন হতে পারে, ঠিক আছে? বাই থ্রু ভায়া স্ট্রিমইয়ার্ড, একটা স্ট্রিমইয়ার্ডের থ্রু দিয়ে একটা লাইভ চ্যাট সেশন করা যেতে পারে, জাস্ট ফর সাম হ্যাভিং সাম ফান ইন ইংলিশ। The topic may be anything, any kind of topic we can have. It can be in here in YouTube, or it can be on Facebook as well, in the group, wherever it is, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure about the topic. We can have any topic, or we can do it like much like a kind of talk show, like any popular subject. But again, that will give you some kind of speaking activity, and that will interest the other listeners as well. So we can take up any kind of কি বলতে বলা যেতে পারে, যে like the recent activities, maybe some current affairs or games or things like that, where both of us will participate. Some of you will be present, and your other friends will be there as the viewers, and the other people outside as well. And if that goes well, we can have that continuously, one after other, so that more people can participate. I think because StreamYard, we cannot accommodate more than 10 people. So if you are interested, please let me know in the WhatsApp group. What do you think about that? You come up with some ideas. Okay, well, so যেটা বলছিলাম, যে that Schindler's List, that is one of the most top rated movie. If you search Google, the IMDb top rated movies of all time, you will see the name of Schindler's List topping the list. Okay, topping the list, maybe one or two. একদম মানে 100টা সেরা সিনেমার মধ্যে 1-2 এর মধ্যে থাকে Godfather and this Schindler's List. The Schindler's List, it's all about a German man called Schindler, who was an entrepreneur in German uh, in the Nazi era. He was simply a very big businessman who was completely careless about what was going on around the world. All that concerned him was his own profit, like most of the other businessmen in the world. Okay, but what actually happened at the same time, you have heard about the Nazi concentration camps and the sufferings that they incurred on the Jews. So somehow, on some day, by seeing the death of a very little girl, একটা খুব বাচ্চা একটা মেয়ের মৃত্যু দেখে, সেই শিন্ডলার বলে যে লোকটা, তার মনটা চেঞ্জ হয়ে যাবে, and he will start making arrangements for saving the life of Jews, এবং সে জীবনে প্রচুর ইহুদির জীবন ওইরকম ভাবে বাঁচাবে। এইটা নিয়েই ঘটনাটা, ঠিক আছে? আমি সমস্তটা আর ভেঙে বলছি না, বাট ইফ ইউ সি দ্য মুভি, ইটস আ লং মুভি, বাট ইটস বিউটিফুল, ইটস বিউটিফুল। তো সেই শিন্ডলার একদম সিনেমাটার শেষে যখন সে মারা যাচ্ছে, when he is on his deathbed, তখন তাকে লোকে বলছে যে তুমি এত লাইফ বাঁচিয়েছো। ও তখন বলছে যে yeah, I think it is based on a true story, and you can hear him or her, who was there in that video as well, that particular doggy. I think that is a toll that it's reminding me that here your class is coming to an end, your live session. Well, যেটা এটা বলেই শেষ করি যে, এবং তখন সেই শিন্ডলার যখন তাকে লোকে এই কথাটা বলছে, he has saved so many lives of people, that he says that I could have saved one more. মানে তার মানে সে মনে করে তার কাছে প্রত্যেকটা লাইফ ইম্পর্টেন্ট, সে প্রচুর জীবন বাঁচিয়েছে, সে প্রচুর লোকের উপকার করেছে, কিন্তু প্রচুর লোকের উপকার করাটা তার কাছে মানে শেষ নয়। He is an individualistic, he does not have a totalitarian view. ধরা যাক সে 500 লোকের জীবন বাঁচিয়েছে, তাতে সে যতটা না জুবিল্যান্ট, তার থেকে অনেকটা বেশি রিমোর্সফুল বাই দ্য ফ্যাক্ট দ্যাট দো হি কুড সেভ দ্য লাইফ অফ 500 পিপল, হি কুড নট সেভ দ্য লাইফ অফ ওয়ান পার্সন হি ইন্টেন্ডেড টু। একটা জীবন সে বাঁচাতে পারলো না, 500 জীবন বাঁচালো, কিন্তু তার সঙ্গে একটা জীবন সে পারলো না, ঠিক আছে? সেটা তাকে কুড়ে কুড়ে খেলে, এবং সেই কথাটা বলেই সে মারা গেছে। I could have saved one more, that little girl over there. Okay, so you can see the movie later on, maybe. It's a fascinating one, and it's technically also it is one of the masterpieces of our Spielberg. The total movie is shot in black and white. You just only have one red spot, in the movie, that is the girl who was wearing a pink skirt or pink frock, I think. ঠিক আছে, সিনেমাটা কোথায় পাবে? সিনেমাটা I think is there in Netflix, but I have that movie with me, আমার কাছে আছে। আমি অনেকদিন আগে দেখেছিলাম, before the arrival of this OTT platforms or things like that, অনেকদিন, প্রায় 10-15 বছর আগে। It's an old movie, but I think if you have the subscription of Netflix, I think the movie is there in Netflix. Let me see. I think the movie is there in Netflix. Yes, you have the movie in Netflix. Okay. Okay, I think I must end this class right now, because he's not taking it too well. You can hear him. No, it's not my pet, it's my neighbor's pet. It's my neighbor's pet. Acha, YouTube ও আছে. Okay, you can see it there. Okay. Okay, bye. Of course, so we will meet in the next day, and meanwhile think about the proposal that I gave you, that live session, and think about the subject. I will also think, but you can also come up with your own idea, and you can send it in WhatsApp. We can discuss it in there. Okay, thank you, bye.